Are you ready to finally break free from overwhelm, procrastination, and burnout? If you're ready to focus on what truly matters and create momentum to reach and exceed your goals in business and in life, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Efficiency Advantage, the podcast where clarity meets action and purpose that fuels your progress. So here's world-class productivity expert and your host, Coach Juli.
Hello and welcome to the Efficiency Advantage podcast. I'm Juli Shulem, your host. And today's episode is Move Smarter, Not Harder. 6 systems for a stress-free move. How to pack, move, and settle into your new home without the chaos. Have you ever noticed that moving consistently ranks as one of the most stressful things in life? Right up there with changing jobs, getting married, or starting a new chapter in life. And honestly, it's not surprising. Moving isn't just about transporting your belongings from one place to another. It's about making hundreds, sometimes thousands of decisions in a very short period of time. What stays, what goes, what gets packed first, what do you need immediately, what can wait? This constant decision-making is exhausting. But here's what I've learned after moving more than a dozen times as an adult and helping countless clients through their own relocations. Moving doesn't have to be chaotic. With the right systems in place, you can dramatically reduce the stress, save hours of time, and settle into your new home much faster. I was reminded of this just this past week. I flew to Northern California to help my son and his fiance move into their new home. The house they'd been renting had been sold, so they suddenly had a deadline, and they had to find another home, secure it in an incredibly competitive market, and then pack up everything they owned. Thankfully, they found a beautiful home just about 30 minutes away. Finding it was the hard part. Packing it all up, well, that became my job, or mostly my job. My future daughter-in-law called me and said, "Can you please come help?" Since I helped them with their last move, they knew I'd have some good systems to help with. She knows me well. When I arrived, the first thing I noticed was that we already had a head start. We still had boxes from their previous move, along with some packing materials. So she had pre-purchased the packing paper, bubble wrap, and the tape. So that was a huge win. But this move was a little different from the last one. Last year, they were moving out of Manhattan, putting everything into storage and living without most of their belongings for several months because they were going to do some traveling. This time, they were moving directly into another home, which simplified things. But they also had much more stuff this time. More furniture, more kitchen items, more closet stuff, and more decisions. And that's exactly what today's episode is about. So today I'm going to share the 6 systems I've developed over many, many years of moving, systems I've used personally with clients, with friends, and obviously now with my own family. They aren't complicated. They're practical, they're efficient, and they make one of life's most stressful events feel much more manageable. So let's dive into system number 1, and that is the plan before the packing. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking packing begins with boxes. It doesn't. Packing begins with planning. Before a single box gets taped together, I like to walk through the entire home. Which rooms will take the longest? Which spaces have the most clutter? What absolutely has to wait until the last day? And what can disappear into a box today without affecting daily life? Having a plan immediately reduces decision fatigue because you've already determined your priorities. One simple trick I've used for years is putting a running checklist on the refrigerator. And as you think of those last minute tasks, write them down. Things like empty the freezer, pack the coffee maker, load artwork into the car, grabbing the frozen food, dealing with utilities, whatever else little stuff has to happen. In this case, I also use little Post-it notes, and each day we had a goal. So we'd write down, okay, today we're working on the laundry room and the linen closet, whatever else we were going to be working on. And then when moving day arrives, when you've got this list of those last minute things that have to happen, you're not trying to remember everything. You're simply following your list. There's no decisions and worrying. Another thing I encourage people to do is think about where things are going, not necessarily where they came from. Maybe your current home doesn't have a laundry room, so all your cleaning supplies might have lived under the kitchen sink, but your new home does have a laundry room. So instead of labeling that box kitchen, maybe it really needs to be labeled laundry room. Thinking ahead saves you from moving boxes from room to room after you've already unpacked them once. That's efficiency. And speaking of efficiency, here's another system that has saved me countless hours over the years. I love color coding. Assign a color to every room in the new home. Blue might be the primary bedroom. Green could be the office. Yellow for bathrooms. Orange for the kitchen. Place a colored sticker on every box. And then as soon as you arrive to that new home, tape the matching color to the doorway on each room for easy identification. So you've got, let's say the kitchen is all orange, orange sticker on the kitchen boxes and orange on the door jamb of the room that it's going into. Now, instead of movers having to stop and read every label, they simply match the colors. It goes really fast. So orange in the orange room, blue in the blue room, it's fast, it's visual. I'm sure you understand. And it also prevents boxes from being carried upstairs only to discover they belong downstairs. Sometimes the simplest systems create the biggest time savings. All right, system number 2, pack so future you will thank you. Now, you've got a plan and it's finally time to start packing. Here's the key. Don't start with the things you use every day. Start with the things you won't even miss. Books, artwork, seasonal decorations, kitchen gadgets, the extra ones you don't use, like that bread maker that you maybe use twice a year. Holiday dishes, anything that won't affect your daily routine that can disappear into boxes weeks before moving day. Then gradually work your way toward the essentials. Now, we only had a week to do this. So if you know that you've got a move coming up and you can start weeks earlier, all the better. So about a week before you move, you want to also start shopping differently. This is an area where I see people get into trouble. Food. Look in your refrigerator, look in your freezer, ask yourself, what can we eat before moving day? This is exactly what we did at my son's house. I went through the refrigerator and the freezer and it's like, okay, I can make a meal with this, this, and this. If we get 1 or 2 things here, we can work this all together and use up the food. The less food you have to transport or worse, throw away, the better. Toward the last couple of days, hopefully you've used up the food that is going to be usable. And I recommend getting takeout, eat simple meals, make life easier. By then, many of your pots and pans and kitchen tools should already be packed. It's one less thing to worry about. And here's probably my favorite moving tip. You want to pack a suitcase for everyone in the family as if you're going on vacation. Every person in the family gets one suitcase. Fill it with enough clothing, undergarments, medications, toiletries, your chargers, and personal items to comfortably live out of that suitcase for several days. And don't forget towels and toilet paper, by the way. Then, and this is important, pretend everything else you own has already left. It's already packed because basically it has been. That one simple habit eliminates one of the biggest frustrations after moving. Digging through 15 boxes, trying to find your toothbrush or your pajamas or your phone charger. Future you will be incredibly grateful. Remember, efficiency isn't about doing things faster. It's about making smart decisions before you need them. And that philosophy carries through every single part of the moving process. In the next section, I'm going to share the labeling system that I swear by, along with some packing techniques that have allowed me to move delicate items again and again with almost never, actually, I was saying almost never anything breaking, but anything I've packed has not broken. Only when movers did it. Sorry, movers. Okay, system 3, the labeling system. This saves hours. Here's a question for you. Have you ever moved into a new home and found yourself opening box after box looking for one thing? Maybe it's the can opener or your coffee mugs or your favorite frying pan. You know it's in the kitchen box, but which one? That's exactly why labeling matters. And when I say labeling your boxes, I don't mean writing kitchen on the side with a marker. That's only the beginning. Every box should tell you two things: where's it going and what's inside. For example, instead of writing kitchen, your label might say kitchen, mixing bowls, measuring cups, baking supplies, rolling pin. Now you immediately know whether that's the box you need now or whether it can wait until another day. One thing I also recommend is using adhesive labels rather than writing directly on the old moving boxes. Most of us tend to reuse boxes, which is wonderful. This is great. But they often have markings from previous moves. Cover those old labels and markings up so there isn't any confusion. Then, in large letters, clearly write the room where the box belongs to. If you've used the color coding system I mentioned earlier, you've now given yourself two visual clues. The movers see the colors, you see the contents. It's a simple system that saves an incredible amount of time. So here's another little habit I've developed over the years. As I'm packing up a room, I go through and I open up every cabinet and every drawer. As each one is emptied, I close it. By the time I'm finished, every cabinet and drawer in that room should obviously be closed. That tells me at a glance that nothing has been forgotten. No last minute surprises hiding in the back corner of a cabinet, no forgotten drawer of kitchen towels. It's one of those tiny systems that removes uncertainty. And as you've probably figured out by now, less uncertainty means less stress. All right, system 4, you ready for this? Protect what matters without wasting space. Now let's talk about protecting your belongings. People often ask me if I have special tricks for packing fragile items. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. But honestly, the biggest secret isn't expensive packing materials. It's using the space you already have. For years, I've wrapped fragile items in dish towels, bath towels, blankets, sweatshirts. Think about it. Those things have to be moved anyway. Why not let them do double duty? I recently packed a countertop water purifier in my son's house. Instead of filling the box with loose packing material, I surrounded it with rolls of paper towels. The machine stayed perfectly protected, and when they unpacked, the paper towels were exactly where they needed to be. Nothing was wasted, no space was wasted, and everything had a place to be useful, right? Whenever possible, I try to let one item serve multiple purposes. That's efficiency. The same goes for artwork. Small pieces can be wrapped in blankets or towels and transported safely in a vehicle, which is what we did for this one. Larger artwork or mirrors can be placed inside specialty mirror boxes with additional cardboard protection. Now, if you own valuable fine arts or antiques, that's a different situation. I always recommend hiring professionals who specialize in transporting artwork. Some even build custom wooden crates designed specifically for each piece. That's well worth the investment when you're protecting something that's truly irreplaceable. Another important consideration is the weight of your boxes. This is where some people often make mistakes. Books, for example, belong in smaller boxes, not because they're fragile, but because they're heavy. A large box full of books is almost impossible to lift safely. Save the larger box for lighter items like pillows, linens, lampshades, or bulky but lightweight belongings. And don't forget to cushion the top of every box before sealing it. A few sheets of crumpled paper, packing paper, creates a buffer that helps prevent the box from collapsing when other boxes are stacked on top. Remember, moving trucks are basically giant games of Tetris. Your boxes are going to have weight on them. They are going to be stacked. So pack accordingly. And one final tip that has saved me countless headaches over the years: choose one area of the house to become the box staging area. As boxes are packed, move them into that designated space. Not only does it keep the rest of the house functional while you're packing, but on moving day, the movers know exactly where to begin. The fewer times a box is handled, the better. Less lifting, less confusion, and less opportunity for something to get damaged. See a pattern developing? Every one of these systems reduces decisions. Every one of them reduces unnecessary work and lowers stress. Because efficiency isn't about rushing, it's about creating systems that make difficult things feel easier. Now, the truck is packed, everything's arrived safely. It's the final part of this episode. I'm going to share what I think is the most overlooked part of moving: how you unpack. I'll share exactly how I do it, along with my first day survival kit and the unpacking strategy that will have you feeling at home far sooner than you thought possible. So, you've made it to your new home, the truck is empty, the boxes are everywhere, you're exhausted. Now what? Believe it or not, this is where I think many people accidentally create even more stress for themselves. They start opening random boxes. They bounce from room to room. A little bit in the kitchen, then the bedroom, then the bathroom. Before long, they have 20 open boxes, packing paper everywhere, and no room that actually feels finished. Instead, I'd like to share the system I've used for years, a system that once helped me completely unpack and organize a 4-bedroom home, including artwork on the walls, in just 4 days. Not because I was rushing, but because I had a really good strategic plan. So here's your first day survival kit. Before we even start unpacking, let's make sure you've packed one thing that will make your first night comfortable. Remember that suitcase I mentioned earlier? That's where it becomes invaluable. This place, this time. Everyone in the family should know exactly where their suitcase is. It contains everything you need for the first day or two. Your clothing, toiletries, medication. We talked about everything that should be in here. Now, don't forget, you should have either a tote bag or something that you've just put in the car that goes with you, with toilet paper, hand soap, and a couple of towels, and also a roll of paper towels. These aren't glamorous items, of course, but you'll be very happy you know where they are when you get to your new place. I also always keep a small unpacking kit with me rather than packing it in the moving process. Inside are sticky notes, a pen, some scissors, a box cutter. Hello, we need to be opening those boxes, and a few basic tools. Those simple items become surprisingly valuable during the first few days. All right, here it is, System 6, the last one: unpacking with a purpose. Now we're ready to unpack, and here's the key. Aim to finish one room before really starting another. That's one habit that changes everything. I always begin with the kitchen. Why? Because for most families, it's the room with the greatest number of items and the one that supports kind of the rest of the home. I mean, that's where we eat. Before opening a single box, I open every cabinet and every drawer. Just kind of the reverse of what I did. Well, I guess it's about the same as what I did the last time. I opened every cabinet and every drawer. And then as I packed it, remember, I closed everything up. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing, but in a different way. So I decide where things will live based on how we'll actually use the new kitchen, and not based necessarily on where they were stored in the previous home, because the kitchen probably has a very different layout. This is one of my favorite organizing exercises because every home is different. Maybe the dishes belong closer to the dishwasher, or the spices make more sense beside the cooktop. Maybe your food storage containers finally have a drawer that actually fits them. Take a few minutes to think before you start putting things away. Now, before you even start putting anything away, pull out those sticky notes. This is probably my favorite unpacking trick. On one sticky note, I write silverware. Another says cooking utensils, plates, bowls, cups, mugs, spices, food storage, cleaning supplies, dish towels, all the things, the categories of things that you have that need to be put away. You're going to make an individual sticky note for each of those things. Then I place those sticky notes on the cabinet or drawer where I think those items should live. Now I have a flexible plan. As I begin unpacking, I can make adjustments if something isn't really working. And you'll see where some things are going to be combined in one space, or where some things don't have a home at all. So you'll know because you've already listed them on the Post-it notes. So once I'm happy with the layout and everything gets put where it needs to be, the sticky notes come off. It's simple, it's visual, and it eliminates the guesswork. As each cabinet is completed, I close the doors and move on. one small accomplishment at a time. That momentum matters. The same principle applies throughout the whole house. Put towels away where they'll be used. Put clothing directly into the closets and dressers. Obviously, that's an easy one. Set up the home office once the furniture is in place so you can get back to work quickly if needed. As each box is emptied, break it down immediately. Don't leave empty boxes scattered throughout the house, creating what I like to call a cardboard maze. Stack the reusable ones neatly and recycle the rest. Every empty box is one less visual reminder that you're still moving. Because here's something I've observed over the years. Clutter doesn't just occupy physical space. It occupies mental space. Every unopened box quietly reminds you of unfinished work. Every partially unpacked room competes for your attention. The sooner you eliminate that visual clutter, the sooner your new place begins to feel like home. If you know where your artwork belongs, hang it once the furniture is in its place. If you're still moving large furniture around, keep the artwork safely protected until everything settles. There's no prize for hanging pictures before the sofa is in its final spot. And here's one final piece of advice. Give yourself permission not to cook the first couple of days. Kind of just like when you were leaving the last place, the last couple of days, do the same thing. Order takeout, go out for dinner, keep life simple. You've just completed one of life's biggest projects. It's okay to make the first few days easier on yourself. My final thoughts. As I was helping my son and his fiance pack their new home this past week, I found myself thinking about something. Yes, we packed boxes. Yes, we loaded the cars. Yes, we made myriad decisions and even did some purging. But what we were really doing was helping them begin a new chapter of their lives. Every move represents change. Sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's bittersweet, sometimes it's both. And that's why I believe systems matter so much. Not because they make us more productive, not because they help us check boxes faster, but because good systems reduce stress during life's biggest transitions. They free up your mental energy, they reduce decision fatigue, and they allow us to spend less time worrying about where the coffee mugs are and more time making memories in a new home. That's really what efficiency means. Efficiency isn't about doing things faster, it's about making smart decisions before you need them. When we create thoughtful systems, we don't just save time, create space. Space to enjoy the people we're with. Space to appreciate new beginnings. Space to focus on what truly matters. And isn't that the real advantage? Not just getting more done, but creating a life with less overwhelm and more intention. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. If today's episode gave you a few ideas to make your next move a little smoother, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or family member who's getting ready for their move. And if you're enjoying the Efficiency Advantage podcast, I hope you'll subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with others. We're incredibly grateful to have been recently ranked in the top 10% of podcasts globally, and that's only possible because of listeners like you. Thank you for being part of this community. Until next time, remember, small systems create big results. I'm Juli Shulem, and this has been the Efficiency Advantage podcast. Have a wonderfully productive day.
So that's it for today's episode of the Efficiency Advantage. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing to win a private VIP day with Coach Juli herself. Be sure to head on over to theefficiencyadvantage.com and pick up a free copy of Coach Juli's gift and join us on the next episode.